Wholeness. I'm so excited to make this video. I never would have thought I would be in this type of space, but I am. I'm so truly inspired by this season and the winding down of the Gregorian calendar. So for me, December is not the end. It truly isn't, in my personal opinion and due to my own research and study and all that. But March to me is like the true beginning of the new year. But anyway, so I would like to talk about singlehood. And I've been very apprehensive about this because there's so many, messages on the internet where people are either gloating like, oh, I love being single, and or they're very religious about it. Oh, like, I am saving myself for the Lord, I am saving myself for Jesus Christ, I am saving myself for my one true king, my one true husband, or my one true wife. There's so many different avenues of this. So I just thought, since I have a platform, why not share my own personal experience with it? And I feel confident and I feel comfortable right now talking about my singlehood. Last year I did not, but this year I do. Where do I start? It is a blessing in disguise. And the content that I watch, apart from uploading my own content, I try to really find people who have a niche, people that are authentic, people that are very they have entered into a space of acceptance, and they're content. They're not focused on making the message perfect, like this perfect, like mystical, magical, illusion with their audience or with their message. It's just very straight to the point. This is me. I'm here for you with this message. Here it is. And I love it. But recently I've been watching a few content creators, mostly women, that are also in a similar space as myself. So, singlehood, what's it about for me? I find that there's so many. I've been single, and when I look through all of my partnerships that I have had, I have been single for a lot longer than in relationship, I believe, if I do the math correctly. And the seasons were in cycles of when I was alone and in singlehood. I feel like my life was most profound. It was most enriching, most challenging. I grew the most. I was stretched the most. My faith was strengthened the most. And I've also found when I would find myself in another partnership, it was like the value and quality of my time, my life, and my energy just drastically dropped. And I have to be honest. This is going to be a bit transparent and more focused on honesty in this message. I have to be honest with myself. When I met people or a person, I would literally, it was almost like I had a full cup, right? And then I would take this full cup and I would pour all of my cup into the other. And I don't look back on my partnerships in regret or disdain or anger or rage anymore. That being said, I'm not discounting parts of myself that are still healing, but when I look back at the map of my life and I look back at the seasons of when I was single, it just felt like I was most inspired, most productive, most open. And I feel that now that I know that about myself, I really need it. Now entering into this cycle of singlehood again, I feel more confident than ever before. Do I have all the answers? I do not. Do I want to, am I going to, say, oh, I will never fall in love or denounce partnerships or relationships. Absolutely not. I'm not doing that at all. It's about reclaiming. It's like this rejuvenation, review, revisitation, and just reclaiming parts of myself that I put down when I met another. And so with this, I'm just really excited to share, my insights, and to also let those of you who are also single, or your, fellow singletons out there, you're not alone, you're not going crazy. Let's talk about loneliness, solitude, and aloneness. Um, Loneliness is when you're running from yourself, when you do not love yourself, when you have aspects of yourself that you hate. And that pit that you feel, that emptiness that you feel, is it's very dark, and it's like a disease, a storm cloud that doesn't go away. And so you'll distract yourself from with lovers, with buying things, with food, with just any even keeping yourself busy with a career, or multiple ideas and projects and hobbies that you never complete, because you're running away from the parts of you that you hate. And so this self-hate is very sneaky with loneliness, right? Because it's innate in us. As human beings, we're social creatures. We thrive around other people, right? So they say. But with my own loneliness, it's becoming less and less of an issue. I never really struggled with loneliness to the point where I would feel depressed about it, or desperate enough to, put myself in harm's way, or go against my own values, or my own belief systems. If I feel like I want to be around people, I just go out. I go to a social place. I'll go to a social event by myself. I'll take myself out to dinner. I'll take myself out to the movie. I'll take myself out, just walk around where people are walking around. There's nothing wrong with that. And a lot of people feel weird about that. I find it weird when people find, doing anything alone is weird. Why can't you deal with sitting with yourself by yourself? I just, it's like you have to be with someone, or oh, poor you. Like, I had a colleague at work, and she said, we were talking about like our festivities for Thanksgiving break, and she's just flat out asked, she goes, don't you have a boyfriend? Don't you need that? Like, don't you have someone? And I told her, I said, well, I honestly don't really have time, right? When you're working full time in education industry, when you are, going to grad school, hoping that you pass all your classes, and the stress of all that, my desire to get back into my music and to produce my music, and, learning instruments and focusing more on my artwork and what my plans are for the next 5 years of my life, I really don't have, I'm not in that space to feed another, or fill another person's soul, or fulfill their needs. I'm really, at this point in my life, I'm really wanting to be very solid and live very intentionally, meaning I know why I live alone. I know why I practice what I practice. I know why I have my interest in music. I know why I'm doing the things that I'm doing and making the career choices that I'm making. And I'm not just floating willy-nilly, in life. I have done that. I've had seasons where I would just kind of go with the vibe of the tribe, and then I end up being a lone wolf at the end anyway. And so the more centered, when I'm in the space of singlehood, the more centered I become within myself, the more open and fluid I am with life itself. The less I feel centered and grounded within myself, the more I feel stagnant and stuck with life. I don't feel this, especially with celibacy and being single. It's like the more I become whole and I start really just realizing what's already there. And a side note, when you're single and you're on like a spiritual path, there's this misconception here that you have to constantly dredge up every little bad thing about yourself. And that's not healthy, and that's tricking yourself that you're healing. You're not really healing. You're almost like re-traumatizing yourself. Like there will always be something to heal if you look for that, right? You have to ask yourself, why do you want to work on forgiveness, or why do you want to work on, prosperity, or why do you want to work on your wealth, or why do you want to work on your health? Why do you want to work on your creativity? And when you begin to ask those important questions, those why questions, you get to the core, that then is just another little piece of fragmented part of yourself that reconnects, and you become more fulfilled. But where was I going to go with that? So, you have to be careful to not trick yourself into oblivion of the never-ending cycle of healing. Oh, I have to heal myself. I have to heal myself. Okay, so what are you healing? Is this something that you've already healed before, and you just, it's tricky for me, because I used to be all about that. Oh, I gotta heal, and it's like we're always healing. It's just about how much awareness that we have that the healing is taking place, or if we're ignorant to it, if we're ignoring it, if we're closing off opportunities to resolve a lot of what's unhealed in us to begin with. So yeah, it's a redirection of my energy that I find incredibly exciting. Like this part of myself that I lost or that I disconnected with, I felt stuck. I began to fragment myself. I was so isolated. The worst thing is to be with another and feel completely alone. That is the worst existence, to feel that type of emotion or energy around you, or even within yourself. And so now I know that I need time. With relationships, it takes me a long time to really properly vet a person, to filter out a person, to see what they're truly about. Because sadly I have this thing when it comes to intimate and romantic relationships, where if it's shiny and it looks great and looks good, I completely disengage from the center of myself. And I just run with it. And that's something now I just respect my needs. And when you are a singleton, you learn how to respect your needs. You learn how to obey the needs of your body, the needs of your womb, the needs of your mind, your energy. Like even right now I struggle with, I kind of don't feel like going out for Thanksgiving, but I was invited, so I'll honor the invitation. But it's like, the older I get, the more I'm like, I don't feel obligated to give energy where I don't want it to go, and so yeah, that's a really big one. But yeah, let's see. I think the biggest thing I struggle with in my singlehood right now is discipline and boredom. So I've always naturally have been I've always had a very disciplined mindset. As a little Muslim child, I was the one, if my stepfather wasn't available to call prayer, I was the one calling the prayer. I was the one that would be up doing wudu, doing Fajr prayer, which is the first prayer for Muslims, because you pray 5 times a day. I started fasting at the age of 7, which is in Islamic traditions. Parents will have their children start fasting at around 12. I went to my mother when my mother approached us and said, "Hey, do you want to wear the hijab?" I said yes. I wanted to fully embody myself with whatever I am committed to. And and that's something that I'm clarifying right now in this video. Like, I really fully embody whatever I choose to commit to, I give 1,000% to. I remember it with my music, especially when I committed myself to studying voice and classical music and opera. I completely embodied all of it. I wasn't avoiding practice time. I committed my weekends to practicing 4 to 6 hours, okay? Or more. I was so serious about it. And so with this though, it's one thing when you have a passion for what you're connected to, what you're committed to, but when you don't have a passion for, like, let's say writing a college paper or grading papers for students, or little things like chores and whatnot, I get very disconnected, and I feel like it's like it's just another thing to do, and I get overwhelmed because it's like a whole list of boring things I gotta do. And so, with all this extra time, it's like, okay, how can I be present with this? How can I, challenge myself with discipline and boredom, discipline? One thing I love about discipline is that it's like on the path of mastery. And I like that. The boring part is just kind of, it's like sometimes it's monotonous. Like in my Ashtanga practice, it's the same movement in the primary series. You're just doing the same thing every morning, and it hurts. The conditioning for that is between 3 to 6 months, where you're hurting because your spine and your deeper muscle tissues are like realigning, and it's an intense practice. So, when on the days that I lack motivation, my mind, my ego is just like, right? But I don't want to get too sidetracked here, but I enjoy being single because it's allowing me the space, it's giving me the space to realize what I already have. I found that when I was with another, there was always lack. Why aren't you doing enough for me? Why aren't you talking to me enough? Why aren't you doing this for me? I'm doing all this for you. How come you're not doing this for me? How come it's like always, either I like the victimhood mentality activated, where I wasn't doing enough or the other person wasn't doing enough, and it was just a perpetual cycle, right? In my pattern of choosing certain partners, I can see that as well. I'm seeing a whole lot that at 36 that I didn't see at 30 or at 26. Like, it's very eye-opening, and I'm so open to fully embrace the shadow parts of myself and to fully embrace the loving parts of myself. And also, as a singleton, I am learning what it is to truly love what is here, what is now. And that is something where I thought I knew, right? I thought I knew what love really is. I always thought that true love is meant to be given by someone else. And that true love was always meant to be given to someone else. And those two things are true. But one of the most important lessons that I never truly realized until the past year or so is that one must realize that you are the source of love. That we are the giver and the taker of love. But in order to give and to take love in a balanced way, you must realize that you are that. I always believed that it was something outside of myself that I didn't have. And then I told myself, well, I don't know how to connect. I don't know how do I connect to this force outside of myself? So you spend so much time doing prayers and mantras and crystals and reading books on it, watching videos, going to seminars, studying preachers and Sufis and imams and gurus. Like, you try to figure it out, but it's all within us. It's all within me. And so through the space of boredom, solitude, discipline, aloneness, loneliness, it's like I'm reconnecting with myself again. I'm reconnecting with the truth within me. And I have the space to do that I feel like I'm not capable of doing with another person unless I can truly tune in and tap in with it within myself. If I don't come to the realization that I have the love and I'm deeply connected to the love within myself, every relationship in my life will fail. And they will continue to fail if I am not able to realize this within me. I can only say this and speak for myself at this moment right now. I can't speak for, like, this realization isn't for you or for anyone else. This is for me. I now know this because I've studied myself enough, and luckily enough I can see and pinpoint my own pattern. I can see and pinpoint my own mistakes in the repetition, right? And it's like, wow. So I must break my own illusion of separation. I am not separate from God. I'm not separate from love. It's not outside of me. I was 13 or 15 years old, and I truly believed in order for myself to experience love on such a deep level, I had to be in a romantic, committed relationship. And I built these illusions and visions and dreams around that concept. And then when relationships would fail, then I failed, right? Then there was something wrong with me. Or how dare that person betray me? And also another thing about being a singleton and singlehood, no one belongs to you. Like, no one should, it's not an obligation, it should never be an obligation for someone to be loyal to you or faithful. You don't own anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the last partnership, I spent so much time demanding respect. I told myself I have to teach this person to respect me. When you find yourself demanding respect that way, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. Move on. Let it go. Because it's very unhealthy. It's very unhealthy. For me, it was almost like a mirror saying, I don't respect myself. I'm spending more time demanding someone to respect me, and I'm wasting my time being with someone who cannot respect me, and I'm thinking I'm teaching and training them on how to do so, rather than taking the time to realize, my own shortcomings with self-respect. Because if I was a woman or a human being of self-respect, I would not waste my time teaching someone to respect me. And so it's very insightful now. And I'm not saying that I could never, after this realization of how important it is to really connect to the love inside and find fulfillment within that, I'm not saying that I could never meet someone who also is on that level of self-love. That's amazing. Those are few and far between. It's a very beautiful and lucky thing to have in your life where someone loves themselves so much so that, and you love yourself so much so that you come together and it creates just even bigger flow of all this love, because the cups are filled, the cups are flowing, not stagnant and decrepit and drained and chipped and unusable, right? It's beautiful to share this with you and where I'm at, because it's like, a lot of people, even in society, well, a man's purpose is to be a leader in the household. A woman's purpose is to back her man and to have multiple children. And we all know that life is way more complex than that, right? I just have an issue with idealism. Like, ideas can only get you so far. If the idea is not in alignment of what is true in the moment, okay, meaning it's not truly in alignment of the purpose of the moment, it's not true or in alignment of like the reality, you got a problem. Things must be in alignment in order for it to manifest, in order for you to receive and to experience it. So yeah, that was just another insightful thing. You must be the love. You must be. You must realize that you are the love. You must realize that you must become that, what you are. I am naturally an overflowing cup of love. I do not need to be filled, and I don't need to pour it into anything. Or anyone, really, I should say, specifically. You see a wounded animal, you want to pour love into it, right? And you're thinking, okay, now that this wounded animal has received my love, then now this animal will get that love back. We hold high expectations and demand people to give us we demand loyalty. You will be loyal to me in this relationship. You will treat me with respect. You will. And then when they don't, all hell breaks loose and you're surprised and shocked. But this is like your third or fourth marriage or third or fourth partnership, third or fourth boyfriend or girlfriend. Come on now. And then it's just like this endless loop. So you're full of disappointment and a broken heart, and you leave, and then you're upset. You spend time single, and you're just like, oh, woe is me. They weren't right. There wasn't a good fit. We were incompatible. Then you meet someone else. You fall in love with their illusion, right? And as soon as we meet someone new, we automatically build up like an illusion of what we think they are. Not who they are, what we believe that they are. And when they fail to reach that, then everything falls apart. Then you have the fighting and the betrayal and the disrespect and the disloyal, the mistreatment. And it's all shocking, and it shouldn't be shocking. So yeah, the bitterness, the resentment, the anger, that has like oozed out of me, I feel like, and it took a while. I always have this theory of after a separation from another, it takes half the time to recover from that. So you're with somebody for 2 years, it takes a year. You're with somebody for 4 years, it takes 2 years. You're with someone for 50 years, it'll take about 20 years. And I know it doesn't sound logical or rational, but energetically, like you need that time to reestablish and to balance again. And so I feel like I'm becoming a lot more balanced within myself and taking this vow, of enjoying my space. Like I don't have a problem to the point where I'm suffering in my aloneness, right? And anytime I'm feeling any loneliness, it's all like, oh, that's just a little part of myself that feels like she's separate from something, right? And it's really good to feel like I'm becoming friends with myself again. When you become a stranger to yourself, I wouldn't want that for anybody. When you become a stranger to yourself and you don't know you anymore, that's a sad place to be. and that's where a lot of suffering, people who are strangers to themselves can cause a lot of suffering for a lot of people. Not only to themselves, it oozes out into whoever's around them. And so it's so important for me to have space to breathe in my own energy. And that's why I'm pro living alone, because, and probably indefinitely, meaning if I were to enter into a partnership, we would just have separate spaces, because I know this need that I have. I respect my need of solitude, so yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you for listening in. I hope it wasn't all over the place. A lot of what I've been uploading is just, self-reflection, and I hope that it inspires other singletons out there. We're in this together. That's funny, because a lot of us are lone wolves. A lot of us, we know how to blend into the pack, and we know how to, be solo. And wolf medicine is one of my medicines of spirit. And so it's like, I vibe very well in social settings, but I also vibe very well alone. And there's something that could, or possibly, it intimidates a lot of people. Many people cannot handle being alone. Many people cannot. Right? It's just that's a fact. That's a fact. And then there are people who can handle being alone, but they cannot handle being with other people. It's just a struggle for them. And luckily for me, I can go in between fairly with ease. I tend to get more overstimulated though in social settings, but there will be moments where I go out and I can go dancing and dance for hours and hours, and then go home alone and feel at peace, or yesterday I had a phenomenal meal. Like, it was an Indian dish, and it was just, I ate every little part of that meal. I like to eat when I'm hungry, to be honest. Anyway, I'm getting off subject now. I guess you can tell I'm hungry. But yeah, that's it. I will probably make a couple of other videos on singlehood, and like maybe talk about being child free. I don't like saying childless. I am very fertile, but I like to say child free, because childless is like you therefore you have an issue where you can't have kids and you want kids, and that's very sad. And I never had that situation in my life where I needed to face that, but I can make more videos on that. And yeah, and I appreciate you if you made it through the whole video, truly. And if you did make it through the whole video, comment down below and put N-A-R-A. Okay? That's Nara. Naja Rashida. Alright. Take care. Bye.